Look out, kids. PHP is the new JavaScript. I am excited to give this one a read. Dave works over at Mux. We've had some fun chats in the past. Seems like he took my advice of write articles that bait me into reading them seriously because I have to read this one. I haven't taken a serious look at PHP in over a decade, and that's on me. It feels bad given the current hype and traction, especially because that's where my journey with coding all started. I can relate here. I was a WordPress dev day one. You know what? Let's poll, because I'm curious. Was WordPress part of your early dev journey? Yes, no, kinda, popcorn. I am curious. Drupal does not count. I could do a separate Drupal one, but I know I would definitely fall between yes and kinda here. I think I have to say yes because of the amount of it I did. But a lot of us, especially us old folks, we got started with WordPress. WordPress made me hate front end so much, and I ended up going all in on back end as a result. You had to use WordPress last year, Aiden? God. Yeah, only half of my audience, roughly, didn't have WordPress as part of their early career journey. I envy you. Y'all have no idea how lucky you have it. Back to the article. I'm the ambitious, starry-eyed dreamer that left my hometown.php in the dust for the big city lights and never looked back. Well, now PHP's in the city too with that huge investment, right? But there's been a palpable shift in the air. You can sense it. People seem excited about PHP. $57 million of excitement. So, what happened? Well, Laravel happened, and it has been happening. I've literally never touched Laravel. That changes today, here, now, in this blog post. Raw, unwrapped before your very eyes. Will I become a fan? Will you? Unknown. Let's see what we uncover. But first, we have to address the obvious. Today's sponsor makes life much easier for those of us actually trying to ship code. Stop me if you've heard this before, but Savala's made my life much easier already, and I was going to talk about all the fancy cool features that I usually do here or mention the $50 of free credit you get for signing up today, but I have something much more fun I want to talk about because this is a new feature I didn't even know existed until I was just starting to film today. This is their dashboard for a deployed application. You just link it to something on GitHub and it will auto-deploy, all the fancy stuff we expect now as modern JavaScript and web devs. Now everyone has it on every programming language and every framework. Cool, awesome, good stuff. But they now have features that we don't have in Vercel land that are making me extraordinarily jealous. See this little section they added here under my project where I can create a worker, a job, or a cron? Let's just click that create cron. I can give it a start command, an expression, and choose how big of an instance I want it to run on. This is incredible. If you have work that you want to trigger automatically via a cron, or if you want to spin up a job that will automatically run when a certain endpoint is hit or with a given policy, or if you want to spin up a worker that does like one specific thing next to your production deployment, like it runs a command and will automatically scale, the fact that these are just buttons you can now hit underneath your existing process, and it just takes your existing code base and runs it with these custom things, that's so useful. Being able to just spin up a dedicated server with the same code next to your existing process, such that they both update together automatically when you make code changes. This is so useful. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that you can put a Cloudflare CDN in front of it with literally 2 clicks. If I needed to run servers for the stuff I was building, Savala is what I would be using, and I don't need to run servers, and I'm still considering it. You probably should consider them too. Check them out today at soydev.link/Savala. How PHP soured thousands of developers. That's putting it lightly. I have another video I'm actually quite excited to do, PHP, a fractal of bad design. It's over 10 years old now, but at the time, this perfectly summarized the pain that was PHP. A lot of the things brought up in here have since been fixed, but definitely one worth watching once we do it because, PHP was not good at the start. This video might even be out by the time this one's out. Link in the description if so, or I'll put the little thing here if it's there. Anyways. Oh, also the poll results. No one, but yes and kinda were almost perfectly tied. So there you go. So let's hear how PHP soured thousands of devs. I've met so many developers who earned their wings by writing a procedural top-to-bottom home.php and hucking it up to DreamHost via FTP. Oh god, the FTP deployment days. I have so many weird stories. Here's a really fun one, actually, a short one. One of my PHP sites, WordPress sites, got hacked. I had a bunch of them on an old, crappy, one of the millions of those cPanel as a service companies. I think it was Host Monster, if I recall. They were the source of a bunch of my old domains and sites. I was also using it for hosting the websites for my Minecraft servers, but also for things that my friends made, just a general one place to dump everything. and I did everything through cPanel and FTP. One of my WordPress sites got hacked because it was WordPress. If you didn't keep them up to date always, they got hacked. That was the reality of the web. If you go check your logs on any public facing service for like what endpoints are being hit, wp-admin.php is currently being pinged on your service by some random bot seeing if you might have a hackable WordPress site. Very common. So one of my WordPress sites got pwned and it was being used to distribute malware. So my host did the logical thing and locked me out of my account entirely. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't download my assets. I couldn't remove the virus. I couldn't do anything. They then claimed that they unlocked it, but they gave me no access to shit other than like their web interface for the FTP client that was super broken and would open to a route I didn't have access to. So I had to manually edit the URL to get to the right place, and I could manually delete one file at a time or download one file at a time. I got about a fifth of the way through doing this, and it was just taking so fucking long. They were refusing to activate my account or give me anything. I asked them, could they give me a dump of all the contents on it? They said no. Oh, I forgot to mention, they were still hosting my email server, so I wasn't getting emails during this whole time. And they emailed that email address to let me know it was happening, which was a total mess. So I was in a panic trying to get this back up as fast as possible. Eventually, I realized the only reasonably quick way to do this was to nuke everything I had on this server so they would give me access to my fucking email address again. So I ended up losing like 10 plus years of history from my web dev journey. And the reason I can't show you guys all my old websites and shit is because HostMonster fucked up so hard because one of my websites on WordPress got hacked. So yeah, that's where my whole history of web dev went, if you guys were curious. It went down the fucking shit show of WordPress getting hacked. So much for a short tangent. Anyways, back to this. It was PHP's learning curve, or better yet, lack of a learning curve, that made it so dang easy to get started feeling like a magical internet hacker. PHP tag. Also, like one of the cool things of PHP, you could just run this file on your computer and it would just work without having to do all the crazy setup and whatnot, which is really magical. So here, this example, we have descriptions, which is an array, and we grab a random value from the array. There's an array rand built into PHP, which is nice. I don't love having it as like a top level function like that, but whatever. Then you can echo it. Print it out. Welcome to my cool, hip, funky, or dynamic website. Dope. However, it was this same Swiss Army knife approach that ultimately handed it the bad rep. Yeah. I mentioned this in another thing recently. People complain a lot about like people using JavaScript for things it's not built for. When I was first dealing with Postgres being rough to scale, and I decided to move to Planet Scale, I had a PG dump and I wanted it to move to Postgres. And what I found is the best way to do it, like the official recommended way to do it, is this particular pg to mysql.php file. This is a PHP file you run locally to convert your PG dump to MySQL dump. So yeah, we've been abusing PHP's Swiss Army knife nature for decades now, and it still has us haunted to this day with things like that. So yeah, don't talk shit about people having a create database endpoint temporarily when they're scaffolding things, if at the same time the best way to migrate from PHP or from Postgres to MySQL is a PHP script. PHPMyAdmin is a thing. I won't say good or bad, it just is. It like exists. The same way that like the sky exists, PHPMyAdmin just is a thing. Anyways, this sort of no guardrails code drilled the idea that PHP was never going to be a viable choice for scaling apps of the future into the heads of thousands of devs who, just like me, have never checked back in. Yeah, the performance aspects of PHP don't get enough discussion, in my opinion. It's a lot better now, but for a long time, PHP was hilariously slow. Yeah, nice high quality image. If only I had my image optimization API out so I could send that to them, because holy shit, this upload quality is hilarious. But for those who have eyes that still can't see this, because most of you can't, that's a 475 milliseconds response time average for PHP 5.6 for their WordPress site. And it got cut all the way down to 164 with PHP 8.0. And it got even better with PHP 8.1 and 8.2, which is come out since this was written. This is the successful responses in a given window, over 2 times higher, close to 3 times higher. Yeah. PHP has had some massive performance wins over the last few years. 7.0 in particular was the start of it, and they've continued pushing it since. The total time to run this combination of tests for the most recent version of PHP was 20 seconds. If we scroll back to the 4.0 days, it was 263 to 310 seconds for the same test. So that's like literally a 10x performance win. God bless. Kind of insane it took them that long to get there, but they're here now. So yeah, scaling your Postgres was not really a thing. It was bad. And a lot of people were changing the way they built because of that. Like PHP had a similar level of, like if people think JavaScript nowadays is chaotic, they have no idea. And I would argue something like Laravel is necessary because PHP is so open that it's very easy to engineer yourself into an impossible to get out of corner, similar to JavaScript, I'm not going to lie. But Laravel was built to guide you down a happy path, because if you stray from that path, you are fucked. Like, very fucked. And one more example of this, obviously, just due to the nature of its age, Facebook was built originally on PHP. Rather than try to fight PHP at the time, especially when it was as slow as it was, they basically rewrote it as a new language called Hack. Hack's a language built on top of / around PHP to have similar syntax that is significantly faster and can actually scale, despite their website not knowing how to scale. I had to make the joke. Regardless, to this day, Facebook still largely runs on Hack as its backend language. And the result is a questionable code base that will be very different from any other place you work, but it functions totally fine and it has scaled great for them. But they had to hack the shit out of it to the point where they literally named the language Hack in order to get over the fact that PHP was so slow at the time. Anyways, it's not that there weren't any conventions or frameworks. It's just, to me, even those weren't so hot. Like CodeIgniter, Symfony, Kohana, WordPress, not even bringing up Drupal. Not even going to give Drupal the credit it deserves for ruining our lives. The truth is, I only learned PHP, and honestly, to write code at all, because I had no other option. Yeah, I needed to host my website for my Minecraft server, and PHP and WordPress were the way to do it. I never even wanted to be a programmer. Also, same. What is this a link to? The Skater Punk's Guide to Media Recorder. Wow, way too real. I yearned for a personal website with more functionality and pizzazz than your run-of-the-mill index.html. But back in 2007, the only collateral you'd find in my college pockets was suspiciously dirt cheap lion's head bottle caps with Rebus puzzles printed on the underside. I had no cash to pay a real developer, so down the rabbit hole I went. I was on the line, like I was interested in doing computer stuff for a living, but code specifically was not the direction I was necessarily going in. But yeah. I also was Minecraft plugins really early on. Oh, yo, Arthur, good to see you, man, by the way. I just posted the video about your proposal. As the article says here, he went down this deep, dark hole where he also befriended jQuery, Subversion, and Bootstrap. Oh, God, Subversion. Oh, God, Subversion. Node.js in the decade of JavaScript. I'm fast forwarding a bit for brevity, but it wasn't too much later that a chap named Ryan Dahl introduced a way to execute JavaScript code outside of a web browser. I want to do a video. I've wanted to do this one for a while. The original reveal of Node is so cool in retrospect, and it gets no love. This 11-year-old video showcasing why he built Node and the decisions around it, specifically the power of having the event loop as a way of doing concurrent IO stuff that's non-blocking. It's so cool. He actually showed how good Node was for things like a chat server when nobody would have ever thought about JavaScript on the server like that before. This video is fucking phenomenal, and let me know in the comments if I should do a whole breakdown of the original Node.js reveal, because I think I should. It's a cool video. Anyways, what a moment that was. You mean to tell me that I can write JavaScript everywhere? That my whole stack would forever be at peace, hugging, shaking hands, laughing over a fine dinner, seamlessly handing off front-end interactivity to back-end logic in a blissful state of being? And then we discovered JSON and REST and the hell that was all of that. And then we started introducing things like GraphQL in between the two, even though it's the same language on both sides. The minds of developers everywhere activated all at once, racing with possibility. We braced for impact and endured a furious flurry. Ember, Express, Backbone, Koa, Meteor, Knockout, Knockback, Rivets, Angular, JS, the other Angular. Oh God, Red Wedding. Good times. So on one hand, sure, but didn't we just say the same thing up here? CodeIgniter, Symfony, Kohana, WordPress, Drupal. What was that other one that got acquired for a bunch of money, like the e-commerce one? Like PHP did have this problem, but it had this problem so long ago that we've just forgotten the bad ones and we only remember the good ones. So in retrospect, it feels like there were fewer options. Magneto's the one I was forgetting. Thank you guys. But in retrospect, it feels like PHP only had a couple viable options, when in reality, we had too many options the same way, but only the good ones survived over time. And similar with JavaScript, like Knockout, Knockback, Rivets, Ember, Backbone, Koa, and Meteor are all pretty dead. Like people use them, they defend them, they exist, and we've learned a lot of lessons from them. But Express, and Angular are the only ones in this list that have like really maintained audience since. Oh gosh, the war has begun, and I'd cried more tears and curled up in bed longer than ever. Was this the actual bottom of the dark hole? Would I ever want to code again? How do we recover from this? I don't believe this part, honestly. Like, if you just went through this in PHP, it's the same thing. It was the exact same thing. There was just more people doing it because JavaScript was both necessary to do client-side stuff and it was more accessible. And the packaging ecosystem didn't suck anywhere near as hard, especially once Node and NPM were a thing. Almost on cue, I heard about React from a guy named Wes. This has to be Wes Boss, yep. Fatigued with cold sweats, I bought his course, begrudgingly subscribing to learn yet another JS tool. Unexpectedly, the clouds parted. I could tell, at least for me, that the storm was over. It's okay, Dave. Open your eyes. You can climb out of that hole. It's all going to be okay. I wasn't the only one who felt this way. There were frameworks to be built. We were entering the next era. The next era. Clever. This is great. This tweet from Guillermo has aged so hilariously well. 2016, almost 10 years old. React is such a good idea that we will spend the rest of the decade continuing to explore its implications and applications. A little project named Laravel. All the while, some kid named Taylor Otwell. I need to stop adding an R there. I don't know why I do that. Some kid named Taylor had been happily chipping away at a more advanced alternative to CodeIgniter. He published the first Laravel beta release all the way back in June of 2011. How'd I miss that? Where was I? Well, as I mentioned before, you were overwhelmed with the insane amount of things going on in PHP, the same way I was in JS. But even more so, where was he? I don't know Taylor, but how he managed to escape unscathed from the great unrest of the JS ecosystem completely blows my mind. A lot of people didn't leave PHP, but it's cool that he found a way to not leave PHP while at the same time taking the best lessons and combining it and making it work well with what he was building. Again, stuff like inertia is really, really cool. My understanding of Laravel is even more cursory, but still, even as an uninformed outsider, I am vaguely aware that one of Laravel's top selling points is the first-class support for what feels like everything you'd ever possibly want to implement in a web app. Need to manage Stripe subscriptions? Cashier can help with that. Okay, I will admit this is one of those things I am pissed doesn't exist in our world. It is so annoying to do this shit right. Like, most of the bugs we've had with Pick things since we launched it have been getting like the details of Stripe and synchronizing the Stripe stuff with our API and with our database correctly. I actually just proposed a change to Mark that he made a PR for. Use Stripe as a source of truth for subscriptions. This was a crazy idea I had where instead of storing stuff in DB, we would just hit the Stripe API directly and wrap it with a cache call. So we have the get Stripe subscription status for user. In this function, find where it's defined. We have this async function and we grab it from the subscriptions. And subscriptions, are we not caching here yet? Okay, we didn't add the cache yet. What I'm going to add here is a cache layer on the Stripe subscriptions call so we can get all of the Stripe customers, have them all in one cache entity, and just read from that instead and invalidate whenever we get hit with a webhook to make things easier. Rather than doing it in our database, just cache the entire response instead. Yeah, setting up this stuff is obnoxious. And the fact they have a first class, like built into PHP solution is dope. I still hate the artisan thing. Like they use that term too much, but the idea of configuring the way that your payments work with a first-party library built right into your framework, that sounds huge. And then if you want things like feature flags, there's Pennant. There's even supported packages for social auth like Socialite. Nice. These aren't community contributions, mind you. These are supported by the same folks that built the core Laravel framework. Okay, that's pretty sweet. That's what sticking to the same tech for 13 plus years will do for you. Plus one internet point to Laravel, plus one internet point to PHP. What year is it? Oof. Yeah. So the one counterpoint I will have here is the amount of innovation that we're seeing because of the wide variety of people making new solutions. Like if the same React team was the team that was doing all of the full stack integration framework and tooling stuff around React, there are so many great patterns and solutions we just wouldn't have. Things like React Query, which if you guys have watched much of my channel, you know how much I love it. I guess I should start going to tanstack.com and tanstack query instead. That's the real name. The React version is the React Query bindings. It was originally just called React Query though, but Tanner's rebranded it as he should. All of the partners and experience you get with Tanstack Query is so dope. And this is something that the React team never would have shipped ever. To get this great syntax to pass a promise, cache it on a key that we pick ourselves and get these different states, it's awesome. It is not just awesome in React. It was built for React first, but now it exists for every framework. And I've heard a lot of really good things, specifically about the Svelte and Solid versions, that they are within the best ways to use both React Query and data fetching in those languages and libraries, frameworks, whatever you want to call them. Svelte's a language. I will fight on that one. Anyways, I think it's awesome that we have a community of people building new ways to do these things that allows them to move forward as a whole. Because if we just relied on one body to be creating all of these things, this plug and play nature wouldn't be a thing. And again, it's the Linux approach. I really like that Linux has all of these incredible things built on it and that we can swap them out, build our own piecemeal solutions on top of the base of reusable, composable parts that we get from Linux. And I like that personally. But if you don't want to have to put the time in, if you get paranoid about picking the wrong thing, I know a lot of people are so stressed, they might pick the wrong tool for their full stack application. And if they pick the wrong tool, how miserable is their life going to be in 3 years? I understand that. And if that's the thing you're concerned about, Laravel does seem like a great option. If you feel like you're falling down this black hole of chaos trying to decide on what to and not to use, Laravel gives you an answer. I personally like to pick those things. Like when I was a Linux user, I was not even productive because I was changing out all the parts so often because it was fun for me. I found a much better balance with my modern full stack web development stuff, and that's why I built the T3 stack. The goal was to give me the right amount of flexibility to enjoy the better solutions while having stability in my build process. And everyone has their balance of how much chaos they like here. And a lot of people seem to lean the Laravel direction. I have a whole video about why there isn't a Laravel equivalent in JS that dives deeper into this. If you're interested, I'll pin it up here, I guess. Editing team remind me to put that there before we post the video. Anyways, let's hear what makes Laravel so great. I don't actually know the answer to that yet. We're going in cold. Let's build something live now. So I guess I have to build a PHP app now. I'm going to go do that. I might even post that video first, so keep an eye out for that. I'm quite excited. Let's see how this wraps up. Am I a convert, a newly minted PHP web artisan? You bet your bottom dollar that I am. Depending on how critical you are of my AI code approach, you might argue that I've still literally never touched a Laravel app. But I'll tell you what, Laravel makes PHP fun again, and I'm here for it. Maybe you should be too. Good stuff. I'm quite hyped about this. Can't wait to go try Laravel myself. Keep an eye out for that video too. And until next time, peace nerds.